Coming to the most important dimension, unmasking the candidate's mind through valuable psychometric tools to eliminate two things: subjective bias, number two, to gain the right perception. Because our understanding, it doesn't matter. See, today we have seen this. We have seen this happen in competency-based interviews. We have seen this happen even in behavioral event interviews, where without the psychometrics, different interviewers have different perceptions about the same candidate. Now then, what do? So then somewhere our competency-based interview or the behavioral event interviewing went wrong. Why? Because psychometric did not give you the inputs. So now let's look into that world of psychometric. Yeah. Time to unmask minds at interviews. Selecting people for technical skills or knowledge alone definitely does not guarantee success. So we need to go deeper. So use the latest cutting tools in behavioral sciences to get a thorough understanding of attitudes, right, thinking styles, competency, core competency and personality patterns before you make the costly decision to hire. To enhance human optimization, save on valuable resources and reduce attrition, you need to take the root cause, tackle the root cause, the attitude, through the internal view. Look at the word human optimization. So it is not about human resource management. It is not about human resource development. It is not HRM or HRD. Today, when you are unmasking a candidate, what is important is how do you unmask the attitude so thereby you can optimize the human asset. Human resource optimization, HRO, becomes our focus. Can behaviors be transferred directly to real life? The big question. A lot of research done in this area. Research shows that it's more likely a person who answers the situational questions right will exhibit those behaviors later. However, on the job, the percentages still aren't high enough to make a solid hiring decision. And that's why psychometric analysis is of great use to capture the attitudes and thoughts and not just the behavior. So it is the attitude and the thoughts. So in a behavioral event interview, you're capturing behavior, but without attitude and the thoughts of the candidate. So that's where the vacuum is. So whole dimension of unmasking candidates is how do you unravel the vacuum? How do you go deeper? So let's look at what are psychometric tools. As the word itself goes, psyche means mind and the metric is measurement. So you look at the picture there, you have in the mind, there's a puzzle. In one of the puzzle is heredity nature, heredity which is coming from the nature. And other side you have the environment which is happening by nurture from the time we are born as baby 1 day old. So our parents, caregivers, elder brothers, sisters, they start nurturing us. Later on teachers, later on the books, the articles that we read. All right, a lot of thoughts go in nurturing effect. Then based on the kind of jobs that we are expected, roles we play in life, we develop and nurture competencies. Now, when I am coming in front of you as a candidate, I am a combination of heredity, environmental influences in my mind, and the competencies I have nurtured or not nurtured. Your job is to find out how do I, as a candidate, fit into the role that you are expecting me to do. So here, you need a holistic approach to psychometric assessment. Assessment needs because many different tools are required. One tool, again, a lot of people, they say, I'm using psychometric tool, but only one tool. Again, you'll only have a partial view of the mind, but never the complete view. That's why you need to look at the brain, what you have put briefly here, heredity, environment, and competency. Nature, nurture, role, very important. Only then it will fit into. So thus, these are objective and scientific tools to capture various attitudinal dimensions like personality styles, communication patterns, motivational levels, competency areas, interests, preferences, and a range of other important aspects that goes into making a good selection, right, into a right role. So using multiple psychometric assessments enables objective measurement of the candidate's inner mind. And then what we can do is linking hereditary types with environmental influences and inner motivations to performance competency helps unmask the BAT, behaviors, attitudes, and thinking. So how do we do that? Let's look at some samples. So you have the Carl Jung's research. Carl Jung says he researched heavily on the heredity influences on the people's mind. And when you look at a feeler candidate, look at under heredity, feeler candidates use emotions to think. They think using emotions only. So how does that link to upbringing influences, what Marston did his research? Incidentally, a feeler candidate is likely to end up as more convincing personality, a consistent personality, harmony seeking, right? Peace loving, right? And expert abilities are likely to be nurtured, likely to be, right? Is to be underlined. Yeah. Environment, he or she is likely to be programmed to be people oriented, or they are responder. Whenever you tell them anything, they will do it. That means they may not be the initiators. And what kind of competencies they are likely to be good in? Oral communication should be good, sensitivity to their people's needs, relationship development, teamwork, right? Customer focus, motivating other people within the team or elsewhere, and developing people are a natural set of competencies which a feeler candidate through upbringing of convincing and consisting, programmed to be people-oriented and responder is likely to display. However, if you look at the heredity, when he switches to intuitor candidate, uses the creative ideas to think, which is the other mind of the candidate. So normally the upbringing influences are likely to be convincing and controlling, abilities are likely to be nurtured, programmed to be initiator and task-oriented. Competencies are flexibility, again oral communication, because intuitors are good in communication as well. They have an ability to take risks, to explore new ideas. They are more innovative. They take initiatives because there are a lot of ideas running in their mind, and the learning orientation is likely to be higher because they are always in search of new knowledge, new skills, right? And look at the thinker candidates, use logical analysis to think, and they are likely to be generally more conforming. That means follow the rules, regulations of what the bosses say, what the organization says. Abilities are likely to be nurtured, programmed to be responder. Don't expect any initiatives from them, and they are likely to be task oriented. Means whatever job is done, they will finish it, and not people oriented. So competencies are likely to be analytical thinking, planning, quality focus, business awareness, learning orientation, authority, and of course resilience. So now you look at the yet another category what Carl Jung found, right? Sensor candidates, or use actions to think. They are by doing, they are action oriented. They are more into experimentation mode. The upbringing is controlling abilities are likely to be nurtured. That means they are very dominant personalities, right? They are very authoritative, make their presence felt, right? Programmed to be initiator, task oriented, and competency is likely to be coming with them are initiative, risk-taking, innovation, flexibility, decision-making, achievement, authority presence, and resilience, right? They're able to have, they don't break down under pressure. They are able to take a lot of nonsense and the job. So now the beauty is, we gave you the 4 personalities. If you notice, feeler personalities, incidentally, nobody, right? It may be noted that the human behavior is highly dynamic and a result of environmental and heredity factors. That's exactly what we are covering. So in an ideal situation where there may be an alignment between heredity and upbringing, we may see the linkage between different dimensions as mentioned earlier. However, considering the dynamic life situations, it is very likely to see contradictions and disparities. That's why I was using the word likely. So in an unlikely event, they can contradict also. So what is important for us to note, why psychometrics plays such an important role in unmasking candidates is, when a candidate takes it, the good thing is about psychometry, it doesn't find fault with anybody. It is never a rejection tool. It only finds your strength and then finds out, okay, where this candidate is today, what are his 4 personality traits, what are his scores. Incidentally, on the feeler, intuitor, thinker, sensor, all the candidates will have a score. Nobody gets a 0. Only thing is, something will be higher, something will be lesser. So then based on that, this candidate is suitable for what kind of, is it a people-oriented role? Then you'll probably pick a feeler content, because you need to bond, you need to connect with the customer, right? Customer focus has to be higher. But whereas if you need innovation, if you need creativity, if you need a lot of new initiatives, new ideas to come, correct? So then you need intuitive dimensions for that particular role. But if you need a lot of logical analysis, like quality control, like production, like finance, like audit, right? Then like a legal team, then you need a lot of thinker dimension, which is conforming rules, regulation, going into details, right? Becomes very, very essential. So, and if you're looking at a lot of salespeople, or if you're looking at entrepreneurship or intrapreneurship, entrepreneurs within an organization, right? Entrepreneurs, we call them as intrapreneurs. So you will need an intrapreneurial candidate. So then you need a higher sensor approach, action approach. You need somebody to get down to doing it, or pushing people to make things happen. Then it becomes very easy. So that's where the interplay of nature and nurture, as each one of us are conditioned differently by our heredity as well as by environment, the study and interpretation of the scores become challenging, definitely. That's why you need expertise. That's why we also certify people. And it becomes very interesting, because that's why you're able to garner. So now let us look at behavior, attitude, and thinking through the internal view, using science of psychology to get the right person for the right role. Gain the immense value of battery of 3 to 5 psychometric assessments. You can use more than them, right? We're just giving you a sample. Psychometric assessment used together for in-depth analytics and objective inferences about the suitability of a candidate for a given role. So this is where I was mentioning about Carl Jung. Personality type analysis is based on the elaborate research of Carl Gustav Jung into the influences of heredity on the human mind, on the candidate's mind. On the other hand, you have William M. Marston. So FITS is the personality type Carl Gustav Jung went into, whereas William Marston went into personality style analysis based on extensive work on one's inner motivation. What is motivating him or her from the inside, from within one's mind, influenced by upbringing and environment. So that means your 2 scores on FITS and 4Cs can align, like I showed you earlier, can also contradict. And that is where then you know where the contradiction is coming, right? From which part of the environment. Now that you are equipped, now your behavioral event interviewing becomes very meaningful, because you know exactly where to probe. Okay, hereditarily this guy has the potential. So, but he is not displaying in the upbringing. There is a contradiction between the 2 scores. So they're not aligning. So that means then you probe. When you probe exactly, you can actually find out what is the behavioral event that has actually happened in this particular candidate. Not enough. We go deeper. We have 2 other scientists, right? The People Performance Competency 20, based on the phenomenal research contributions of Richard Boyatzis on the left, and of course you see David McClelland. Both of them are pioneers in the competency movement, and then no competency study can be done without them. So this tool basically measures, right, about 5 meta competencies, like managing change, under which you get initiative, risk-taking, flexibility, innovation, etc. Then you have the planning and organizing, where your analytical thinking comes, decision-making comes, quality focus comes, as well as the other one in terms of planning comes. Then you have the interpersonal, the meta competency, interpersonal skills. So under which you have oral communication, you have sensitivity, you have teamwork, you have relationships. And then finally you have the result orientation, under which you talk about achievement ability. Candidate, can you achieve? Can you deliver results to you? Right? What is this customer focus? What is this business awareness? How much does he know about the business, or about the economy, or about the industry? And then finally, what is his learning orientation? How quick is he, learning open or learning closed already? Right? And finally, you have the leadership competency, the big 5. Under that, we study authority and presence of the candidate. Can he really make an impact? Can he stand up under ambiguous situations? Whether he has the ability to motivate people, can he develop and nurture his second line, third line? And then finally, the resilience, ability to withstand pressure, to work under pressure. A lot of managers buckle under pressure, and that's where it becomes very important. And then finally, we have two other great scientists, very well-known names. Dr. Eric Berne, of the fame of transactional analysis, he spoke about communication pattern, and then we analyze how is this candidate likely to communicate? What is the pattern? And of course, Douglas McGregor, of another great psychologist, right, who presented us, and all of you would have studied in your management theories about theory X and theory Y. So is this person whom you are hiring, how much of a theory X component is there in him, or how much of a theory Y component is there, and how does it come out through his or her communication? Very important to know the inner mind, right? That is why you measure competencies, you also measure the communication pattern. And not to be undone is well-known scientist B.F. Skinner, right? And he contributed tremendously in terms of behavior pattern analysis, right? So now you talk about conducting a behavioral event interview. How can we conduct that without the Skinner's contribution, right? Because behavioral pattern analysis, the BPA, based on the research of B.F. Skinner, Burroughs Frederick Skinner, illustrates environmental event influences on an individual by identifying and comparing behavioral patterns in variable situations. Like I gave you that example, the way I talk to my boss, or where I talk to my team member, or the way when I go back home, where do I deal with my wife, or why do I deal with my child? So, or where I deal with neighbors, all different situations, right? But even after some time, even that falls into habits and mindsets and attitudes where the behaviors become static in those given situations. This brings to awareness the manner of likely behavior of person across different situations. That is where now you are actually gone deeper into that mind, right? And that is where all these tools help. So to unmasking candidates' inner mind to find the right kind and avoid hiring in a blind.